Do you know anyone who was spiritually abused? Like, actually for real?
Yes.
Also, it's really hard to make jokes this episode when we're talking about abuse.
Right.
So sorry, everyone who came for jokes.
Right. Yeah. We don't,
I don't know if anyone comes for the jokes.
Right.
Maybe they're annoying. I don't care. Let's talk about abuse.
Right. So, yeah, I do. Like, so I know someone who was actually told, like, who they needed to marry by a pastor.
Like, specific person?
Yes. Like, the pastor told them, this is the person you are to marry.
Well, didn't we used to do that for, like, thousands of years?
Well, okay. So, for example, like, I traveled to India, right?
Yeah.
And so in that culture, right, you're going to have arranged marriages.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. In that culture, that's what they want to do, right? Yeah. Not saying it's ideal, not saying it's great, right? I joke about it sometimes, like, hey, I want to arrange marriage for my son to be married to the, right?
Yeah.
Like, joke, but
I'm sure he loves that.
It's the best. It's the best.
That was him, everyone.
Right. So, but I do think that, you know, but the reality of, like,
switching over to parental abuse.
I know, yeah. Let's not go there. Yeah. So, but, like, I do think that, you know, in the pastoral context of a pastor saying, the Lord says you need to marry this person.
Right.
Right. That's
not me saying it. The Lord
saying it. Like, that's a whole different thing right there. Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so,
you know someone who this happened to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll even say that I had someone, a spiritual leader, try to persuade me on who I needed to marry.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I obviously, and I didn't, but yeah, it was there was a high level of pressure from a spiritual leader to marry a certain individual. And that's,
was it a girl at least?
It was a girl. Okay. So that's good, you know? And you know, but that's the problem, right? Like that's where we're overstepping bounds, you know?
Okay.
And so, so I think, and some of that is just
what'd you do about it?
Just ignored it.
Okay.
I mean, really, it was just like, I say I ignored it. That's not fully true.
Yeah.
That's not actually fully true. I actually was like, well, maybe I'm supposed to.
Okay.
And so then, you know, you're like
the opposite of ignoring it.
Yeah. So, like, sorry, maybe I was trying to block it out of my memory, but you know, probably. Like, you know, but no, like, yeah. So it actually ended up me like trying to like, well, am I supposed to? And like trying to get to know this person and talk to them. And then you realize, yeah, this isn't it. Right.
Yeah.
And so you end up going, okay, that person obviously just heard wrong. But I know from other people, this same person has tried to do the same thing with others as well. And so, now I think that
did he tell the girl too?
Sometimes he would tell the girl. Yeah.
No, I mean like,
in this situation, I don't think in my situation, no.
What?
But I know
you gotta tell both of the people.
I know. I know. But yeah, so like,
if the Lord really did
say it, I know.
Wouldn't she want to know?
Right. And I do think there's a difference between like the Lord says, versus like, hey, don't you that girl loves Jesus and she's, you know, her personality's great or whatever. Don't you think?
What do you think of her?
Yeah. What do you think of her? Right. Yeah. Like that's one thing. It's a whole nother thing when it's like the Lord says ... Like you're to be married to this person.
Yeah.
And then the people go through with it because they really believe the Lord said for them to do that.
Yeah. I think the other thing would still be weird too. And I wouldn't like that either.
Yeah. No, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Right. It just feels
weird.
Check
her out. Huh?
Yeah, I know. Like,
what I'm talking about. Like,
my God. Right. So, yeah. And then, you know, and then like, and then also like I've known pastors who just, what I would say, like lead like dictators. Right.
Yeah.
So like they can never be questioned. No one can challenge them. You know, like they are God's anointed one in that place.
Yeah.
And they can come across, you know, as very intimidating, dominating, you know, manipulating, you know, to get their ways to And whether it's being emotional, angry, yelling, screaming, whatever, right? And you're just like, holy cow, what are you doing? And I think that's, again, using your power or using your position of authority to gain something.
Mm-hmm.
That's never good, right?
Yeah.
That's spiritually abusive. I mean, I think we've used this, the one before, like where the individual stands up and goes like, hey, I need 10 people to give $1,000 tonight. And, and we're not leaving until that happens.
Is that spiritual abuse or is that financial abuse?
Yeah. And I think it's spiritually abusive when they're using the phrase like the Lord says.
Okay.
So
this has to come.
So like you end up being spiritually manipulated into something, thinking you need to do it because the Lord would want you to.
This is hard to wrap my head around, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, so just anything that you do, like I guess the problem I'm having is do you have to say the Lord says, or is anything because you have a position of authority and you're here to represent God
right
to your congregation in all things that you do.
Right.
So would not being a good reputation, no matter how you did it, be spiritually abusive to me, someone who wants to follow you at your church in the things that you do and say?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I do. That's what I was saying earlier. I think that we have to be careful with the word abuse.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because what is the motive behind it? Right.
Right.
What are they trying to actually gain from that?
Okay.
And I do think that's why we have to be careful with that word. Like, is it just someone being stupid? Like,
right.
Was that just someone just being stupid that they said it that way?
So my pastor messed up. I shouldn't feel abused by that because they're a human being.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Right. Like.
All
okay.
Right.
So
and that wasn't spiritual abuse because he didn't intend to hurt me.
Right. Like, so for example, like, I used the example earlier, like with me, like a situation where like I raised, where I was really short with somebody. Yeah. And they were very hurt by it.
Yes.
Because it came from me. Right.
Right. Okay. So
they're hurt by it, but then I came back to them. We talked through it. I asked for forgiveness. I owned the fact that I was too short. Right. Like, I don't think that's being spiritually abusive. Right.
Okay.
That was just me. I don't think it. I wouldn't perceive it as that. Right. Because I've had pastors be short with me, or whatever, and I don't perceive that as abuse. I just perceive that as that was a really bad reaction.
Yeah.
And so, but again, if that was the common pattern of that person,
right,
that may be a different story.